Welcome back, guys. Just having a look here. Some of you are aware that I've moved over to using Godot for doing my coding and my 3D projects. I've pretty much dropped Unity for my personal stuff. And I'm just going to close a couple things that I don't like open. So one of the things I needed to do is get my head around the multiplayer in Godot and have a look and see some good examples. Now the Godot engine people, and I forget the name of the exact person, I'd have to open this up in their webpage, but inside their project browser you can find the multiplayer Bomber demo, and it's an implementation of Bomberman, and pretty much in 2D it looks like that. Now I'm going to apologize if you hear any noises or stuff in the background. I'm sharing this room at the moment, so. But yeah, that's how it looks in 2D. It's pretty straightforward. You got bombs, you got little animated sprites and whatever. You can obviously download and build it and play it. But I needed to learn networking, so I thought it would be a great example to learn networking. And you can come into the template section and go to demos from them themselves, and you can get that here. So what I thought I would do is I would look at that project and see if I could make it 3D. Now I'm still working on it. I'm mostly done. Need to do some polish, and then I'm going to upload this, and hopefully you all can play it as you want. So this is the Bomberman 3D. I did a few things like allow you to specify the port. It has a default port built in, and this is the default port of the code, but I know for some people, at least who I do some work with, we like to be able to set those ports to get around certain firewall rules that we have going. But that allows you to connect this game multiplayer over the internet. I sliced up the project into specific parts. I changed some images out and added some images because my whole point was I wanted to make it 3D. And for you to see that, there's nothing in there 3D yet. Let's just go to the level. And that's pretty close. I have a sample bomb always in the middle when the level loads. I'm going to take a quick second to talk about that bomb. If I load up the bomb scene, it's not lit quite the same because you don't want to have any extra lighting in your bomb area, or you don't want to have any extra lighting in your sub scenes, because when they get imported or instanced in their main scene, they bring that lighting. Now in the case of this bomb, it does have an area light inside it, and some other properties that are animated, so that the bomb has this outline, which is kind of like a little bit like a cell shader, but it's actually a built-in feature of Godot, and I use it to flash it to indicate a bomb is live, and I flash the light around it. You can't see here. Normally there would be a player if we were playing, but you see these funny points here. Those are the spawn points, and they're used to randomly, or they're used to position the players that join the game. They need to know where to connect. Oh, hopefully my squeaky chair and whatnot isn't too annoying for you guys right now. But yeah, so this game is now 3D, so as you see, it's a little bit larger than the original map. The original map is a couple rows and columns smaller, but it's a lot, pretty much the same idea. Almost the same layout. To make a floor, to make these walls, I find at least the default Godot cube is not it's not mapped to cube the way I'm used to from other systems. So I quickly in a 3D app, actually I think I used a mapping tool, Ultimate Unwrap 3D, to just quickly make a cube and map it like this. Was a 3D object, just a cube. You can see over here that's the mesh, but I turned that into a wall. So here I have the lighting off, so you can't really see, but it's a wall, and then it has a material. So that's all pretty straightforward. The wall material here. I'm not going to get too much into that, but the thing like the bomb here, if you notice, it has a shell. So if you see, it has the shell, but you can create a shell on an object by going create an outline mesh. I'm not going to do it again, but it creates a mesh with whatever kind of expansion that gives you that little bit of a grow around it. And it kind of looks like a cell shader, but it's not perfect. Kind of looks like toon shading or whatever. But for my purposes, having that flash would be great. So if we go into the animation player for the bomb, it keeps calling itself animation player for some reason. I have a feeling that's just supposed to say anim, but we're about to find out anyways when I run the code. If you play the animation, and you can animate just about every property in Godot, which is great. In fact, I think you can animate every property. I haven't gotten around to really playing with it, but what I'm doing here is I'm hiding the bomb, and it's light, the omni light visible on and off. So when it's playing, there's an omni light and the shell that's going on and off for both the hat part. They're two different pieces. And then you save that, and like if you're using Unity, that becomes like a prefab, right? The wall again is also kind of like a prefab. It gets instanced into the into another scene. Now the collision shape, I just used a cube, but you can actually use tools of a mesh. Like here, you can create a, where is it here? I already have a I already have it set there, but you can create a sibling, a collision sibling. So if I had a unique mesh imported in, you could make the shape from the mesh, your collision shape from that mesh. But that's not really what we're here for right now. Changes in lobby, just not much. All I really did was add the port and the quit button. In the level though, you see we have these rocks. So let's open up the rock scene. Again, the lighting is not fully turned on in this scene, or else it would add to the other scene. The rock also has a shell, which is used to indicate the rock has been blown up. And it has a little animation. Now, I'm not going to run that animation because the animation itself in Godot, you can call functions, and this function here, queue_free, deletes the self, or the item. In this case I have it linked to the rock itself. It would cause it to delete itself at the end of the animation. So a very quick half-second animation plays, and I'm not going to go to that, but you can see it'll flash the rock and spin it a bit and make it move around for when it's blown up. So I'm going to close that, and I don't want to save it because I don't want it to change. We're going to close the wall so you don't want it to change. And wow, that was loud. There's our bomb. I'm just going to close that. We don't need that. So there's our level. What you haven't seen here, oh excuse me, what we haven't seen here is the player. So this player, he's just made out of Godot components. Again, I've got the light turned off, but I do have a directional light I put in here just so I can pop it on and see. And I just got to remember to turn that off before I launch. But what I have here is just a little player. He's made out of simple objects. He does have a little bit of an animation, and the animation is only his rotation, and some of the other stuff had to be removed. So when he gets stunned, like in the 2D game, he'll spin around. The rest of his controls happen in code. I've taken them out of the animation because couldn't find a way smoothly that I like doing it. But that's our little player. Again, I got to turn his directional light off. Okay, I'm not going to save him. So we have the scene in preparation here. I'm just going to launch the client over here. Put that over my other screen, and I'm just going to call it the other guy. And I'm going to have them set to join in a minute. So when we launch the game in the lobby, now this, almost all of this is the original code. So almost all of this happens in the original source code. I just adapted things to be 3D. So almost all of this is a few little tweaks on it, just basically adding in that third dimension and changing a little bit how the collision works. The bomb itself is a little bit of a difference here. It still calls a lot of the same stuff. The method exploded, which is checks all the things around it to see if they should explode. That all still exists. But what I did, instead of doing it in the animation, I just made a little thing that kept track of the frames of animation that went by. And that's how the bomb knows when to explode. It's still a fixed speed based on the physics process, which is a fixed rate of animation. But for me, it was easier to do than actually building that into the animation. The rock kind of does the same thing, but in fact, it's exactly the same as the rock in the 2D version. It is also controlled completely in its own in the rock's animation, but for the bomb, I had to change it a little bit just for my sanity while I was doing it. And if you see the bomb, let's go back and open up the bomb again. The bomb scene. This ring here, the blue ring, is the area it looks for things nearby that it can blow up. And the yellow ring is how far the omni light it has spreads. So if we go to, whoops, script for the bomb, when something enters, here we go, when something enters the body, a signal or like a callback is done. It adds that thing found, that collision, for lack of a better person, to a in-area array. So it adds, so if there was an explodable item in the area, it would end up in that array. And when the bomb goes off, or if the item leaves, it erases that body from the area. And then if the bomb goes off, well, everything's erased because the whole thing is removed from the scene, that bomb instance. So anyhow, I'm just going to do a quick shot of it running so you can see what running looks like. I don't think player really has much to show. Oh yeah, I suppose with the yeah, the player can instance bombs into the scene, so that's how it plays it. That's no different than the original code. It's just the scene is now a 3D bomb, that's all. Just like the player spawns at a 3D position instead of a 2D position. Yeah, the controls are a little bit different because it has to be 3D, and we're using the physics process, so I have to make sure the player is always syncing. So there's gravity, but then I have to strip any lateral movement, and I'm actually short-circuiting velocity kind of in the side movements. There's always a gravity going on, and that velocity is preserved between frames, but not the other stuff, because I want it to feel like the keyboard-controlled 2D version. Otherwise, if you give a little bit of force in a direction, they'll keep going that way, and we don't want that. So we're applying the forces, and they actually make the player character look in those directions. But I deleted, I suppose I could do that all with animations by making an animation to that direction like the original 2D had. But what I've done is only use the stunned animation for now. You could open this up and put them back. Here this just tracks what direction you would be walking and what the animation would be. But I've got short-circuited, so it only plays the stunned animation if the bomb goes off. Okay, and inside Godot, in the network it's using, you can be the master. Do you own this object? That's what that means. It's not the server, it just means, are you the owner of the current object? If you're not, if you're one of the other players in the scene, this is how your instance of the game deals with the other players down here, right? Now some of this stuff can be common, meaning both the master and the others would be processed the same way, so you can leave that code like that. The example they put up is pretty good for playing with that and seeing how that works. Yeah, pretty much the rest of it is here. Is not really changed. Just really making the scene. One of the things, I'm just going to pop into the 3D right quick. One of the things about Godot that I like is there's the object, and if I've got snapping turn on, I have the snapping turn to 0.5, which is the size of these cubes, so building this level was really quite quick. Really quite easy. I'm just going to shut that scene because I don't want that saved, even though it changed a bit. So let's just fire up the game here. And I'm going to host. So now I'm waiting for other players to join. Apologize, I did that stupid thing where I clicked my teeth again. And I'm going to go to the other client here, and I'm going to join. So I got that client off screen for you guys. So now that we got 2 people in, you could start with just 1, but we got 2 people in. So we have the 2 of us. This is the bomb from the middle of the board from the very beginning. It was always just there to test and make sure it's going. But as you can see, you can use the arrow keys to move the guy. He changes. If you see that me up in the corner of the primate, spacebar drops a bomb. Now I'm close enough to that bomb, he's going to get stunned. Yeah. It's going to make me spin around just like in the 2D version. You can't control your character when the bomb is going off. You can plant as many bombs as you want, and I'm just going to hop over to the other guy. And going to plant a bomb there. And now there's a little bit of an error going on in the remote client that I've fixed in this client. There was a problem with one of the animation names of the stones, but it's not affecting this. One of the reasons why I have that one off screen, maybe I'll pull it back on. I didn't have the animation named correctly in the rocks when I built the connected client, but it's still smart enough to realize what I'm connected to. The game is still working, which is pretty cool. It's still planting the bombs. Now, my version of the game, you can see there's the little blue outlines, and I'm trying to get the player down close enough to the screen here where you guys can see the stuff a little better. Let's see if I can get anywhere with the up there guy, the other guy. Okay, here we go. This guy can get down pretty close here, actually. Now you can see that blue shell on the bomb flashing, and as time passes it speeds up, and then when the rocks blow up they have that funny little exploding animation that I came up with just for this. But the only thing I used an outside program for, and it's the only thing that I personally found a little bit of a shortcoming with Godot, is the way that they texture their default cube. Your default cube uses 6 textures on one face, so it looks like there's a 1/6 of a texture used on each face, which is fine. You know, that's one way of doing it. I personally like each cube's face to be the entire size of a texture, right? That's just how I like things. But for the purpose of this, it works just fine. You can drop as many bombs as you need. They're all gonna be fine. Just don't be near them when they go off, or you get stunned for each one. Yeah, they all worked fine. Now there was a couple errors on the far client, simply because, like I said, the animation wasn't named correctly for the bombs. But the motion here, as I mentioned, you can see when I tap up or down on the keys, it just moves that 1/4 of a, I guess it's, what is it? Yeah, 0.25 of a unit, roughly. But that's pretty much how the 2D worked. So there's no inertia for the directions, but he does turn to face the direction that you've put input. And then if you do accidentally blow yourself up, which I'll sit here, you'll see that little animation runs. The rock is going to get blown up, and it'll go through its animation and delete itself. And then your character, he spins around, and you can't control him until that little animation's over. But anyhow, that's an overview. The rest of the game is pretty much the same. Whoever blows up the most rocks wins, and the game will run until you blow up the rocks. What I need to add is the ability to restart the game. I'm going to look into that, or I'm not sure if I'll go that far. The original demo didn't seem to have that, but I might just call this done. I mean, maybe I will add the flame particle effects, I don't know. We'll see. But anyhow, this is where I'm at. This is what I've been messing with for the last little while, and if you stuck with me the whole time and you're still watching, you know, thanks. It's not exactly the most exciting topic, and I will be uploading this to the Godot page somewhere. I've probably got an account to upload that, and I probably put this on my own file server there. Anyhow, as always, thanks for watching, and thanks for sticking in there, and sorry for any of the background sounds that might have been distracting. Catch you next time.